even more important is to comply. Here in Kenya, we have been fighting so hard for many years to force not only the private companies, individual entrepreneurs, but even the government to comply with the laws that are in our books. For without compliance, we cannot have sustainable development. Compliance is part of good governance. It's part of having the rule of law, having an effective rule of law. Without that, you cannot have sustainable development. The two of them are important. One is not going to be effective on its own. We need both of them at the same time. You should be very proud of your organization because you are really focusing on an extremely important area. And I know that many of you are lawyers and you understand the value not only of the letter, but also of the action. I understand that one of the areas that you are focusing on is climate change as part of your theme for this year. Now, climate change remains one of the greatest challenges on the planet, not only for environmentalists, not only for climatologists, but for all of us. As we all know, it's one thing to sign the treaty. It's one thing to be part of the Kyoto Protocol, but it's a completely different thing to go home, domesticate the treaty or the agreements, and make efforts to have the treaty complied with, especially in the area of protecting forests. As you know, we are very concerned about the forests because we are informed, as you know, that 20% of our climate emissions are from cutting forests. And this is particularly of concern in Africa, where the majority of our people still use firewood and still need to clear vegetation in order to make room for agriculture. Are extremely important for Africa, protected, and they must be in the next treaty. We are saying that if we cannot protect the standing forests, we plant. Why should we be planting when other people are cutting? It doesn't make any sense. And why don't we want to appreciate the role that the standing forests and vegetation are playing in mitigating climate change? I think we want to push for this. Why we should forests and hoping that more and more people are recognizing the value and I'm hoping of our standing forests. It's for that reason that I'm very proud to be the Goodwill Ambassador of the Congo Forest ecosystem. That we shall continue to fight, especially for this forest, for the Amazon forest, and for the great forests in Southeast and I hope Asia. These are indeed, as we all know, our biggest and most precious carbon sinks. And we really ought to protect them and appreciate them. It can be more important to plant an extra tree than to protect the one that is already standing. Now, it's one thing to have laws and contracts that protect these forests, but as I have already said, much more important is to raise awareness on the need to comply. If we do not comply, it doesn't matter how many laws we make. It doesn't matter how many volumes we write. We're just talking and we're just filling our libraries and our archives. For many years, I've been advocating for people to not only say what they believe in international conferences, in United Nations conferences, in many NGO conferences, and even in government boardrooms. There is a lot of talking, but very little action and very little complying with the laws that we have already in our books. I want to thank your organization for trying to raise this awareness, for it is extremely important. And I want you to know that although I'm not in Cape Town, with my body, my spirit is with you. And I want to urge you to continue this work and to count me and the organization that we are devoted to, such as the Green Belt Movement and the work for the Congo forests, and so many other work that we are trying to do with the rest of the world. Count us as one of you as we try to push not only the letter, but also the compliance. I send you my very best wishes and hope that you will have an extremely successful conference, such as you have not had before. For you are in one of the best countries in Africa, in what I think is one of the most beautiful towns and cities in Africa. And so I hope that you will be inspired and motivated to come up with the best document, but also to go home extremely motivated to not only carry out what you believe, but also make sure that the rest of us, the rest of the world, complies. Best wishes and bon voyage.